All right, welcome back. Today we're catching up with Varoshn Pillay, former CFO turned inspirational coach, as we dive deep into well-being, meditation, and the tools that help us live a balanced, thriving life. Varoshn has guided countless individuals to overcome stress, burnout, and self-doubt, teaching practical techniques to align success with inner calm, clarity, and purpose. In this session, you will discover actionable practices for your mind, body, and leadership journey, whether you're a busy professional or someone seeking more balance in life. How are you, Varosha?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the
Life,
introduction.
anytime, man. Anytime. Yeah, I know it's been a couple of months, and yeah, I just wanted to catch up with you.
Thank you for that. It has been. Time flies. so, so you gotta. It's good to catch up now and then to see how's things flowing, how's things going. Yeah, let's see what's in store for us.
True. All right. On the well-being side of things, Varoshan, in your coaching work, what's the most common well-being challenge you see people struggling with every day?
I think the realization to change. A
Yeah.
lot of us are stuck, stressed, we're struggling, and we don't know how to overcome these events and situations that we're facing, these different challenges. And we're watching videos and we want the motivation, and there's so much of social media content out there that I think we're getting anxious even with the content that we're looking at, and we don't know where to actually find the real source of transformation, of our ability to see, okay, if I do this internally, externally, what's happening, where must I go, how must I do it? I think it's a big struggle with our attention right now. And we need to just focus, concentrate, bring more clarity into life. Otherwise, we're going to continue with the stress and the struggles that we're facing.
What daily practices do you personally use to maintain balance and energy as both a coach and leader?
For myself, meditation is a huge aspect that I use. It's daily. You, it's something that you have to do on a daily basis, on a consistent basis. So meditation, being present to life, doing things in a slower but intense way. I think we wake up with this rush, and you have these deadlines. As soon as you wake up, you switched on, and your mind is switched on. And if you just give yourself maybe a 10-15 minute window before you wake up, after you wake up, to say, okay, you know what, this is my time, my way of just slowing everything down and not getting into it immediately. And I noticed that helps me tremendously. If I wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning, I'll do about half an hour meditation. I just be with myself, be in contemplation and in reflection, and start the day off in that way. I don't want to wake up in a rush. I think we so taught from our previous experiences, our work schedules, our life. There's no balance we talk about in alignment. Well, you've got to do those things for yourself. In the mornings, you got to have your own preparation, your own way, routine preparation to starting off in your day. And the old routines, the old repetitions, they actually, I realize, they don't work, and you've got to change that. So for me personally, meditation is one of the most fundamental, foundational aspects that I use in the mornings, and I just slow things down, but it'll start being intensive as the day progresses.
How do you guide people who feel stuck in stress or burnout to shift into a healthier rhythm?
Oh, it's tough today with the attention, and when you look at it, for me, I prefer giving them a few techniques and tools, and I think meditation is something that we've become accustomed to thinking that it's closing your eyes, sitting down. These are actually tools and techniques. so that you can have a foundational experience. It's like, let me give you an example. When we're building a foundation, you need sand and stone and
Mhm.
water, and you're mixing them up all together, and it's giving you this foundation for your house or for a building, and you're building on top of that. And meditation is in a very similar way, that a tool and a technique is to close your eyes, to sit quietly, to be alone. These are all tools and techniques to become familiar with meditation, to move into a space of meditation. And it's a foundation. It's how you grow and how you elevate yourself. And we think it's 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 like going to an ashram, going to a temple. You have all of these wrong connotations to what meditation is, and you can do it alone. You don't have to go to some far off
Mm.
place and sit in a cave in a mountain and think, oh, this is the only place that you can meditate. And I find that you've got to find that understanding of what it truly is, so that you can know it and experience it. And when we talk about it, I think there's a very misinterpretation, misclarification towards understanding what meditation is. And most people find today you can't sit still, and it's because of social media. It's We have so much of information at our fingertips right now, that you could be you can't switch off your mind right now. Science is telling us that we have 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day. If you look at that, that's every second you have a thought. 60 seconds, 60 thoughts, 60 minutes, that's 3,600 thoughts in an hour. And
Wow.
we don't really understand the impact of that. And if you're having 90,000 thoughts a day, you're actually mentally ill, because you don't really fundamentally, that's where anxiousness, depression, stress, burnout, all of these are coming from your mental activity. And if you don't know how to calm that down, to still it, to bring a certain rest to your mind, it will be in a continuous flux, and you won't be able to control it. And that's what we find today when you're trying to coach people, is that just to get them away from that aspect is difficult, because by the time you're 25, you're already thinking, you got 60,000 thoughts on a day, that you having. And when you look at it, when you're a child, you don't have all of these experiences. You're much more happier, you're much more alive, you're much more
Mm.
intense, you're much more joyful, you're experiencing more fun. But within a 25 to 30-year experience of life, we're noticing now that science is telling us, psychology is telling us, that we're becoming more mentally ill. That one person in your family is going to experience mental illness. That's going to be it's a fundamental research pattern that's being seen today.
All right. I have a question for you in the comments. This is from Jitin Rishika. Hi, Roshan. Thank you for an interesting pod. How does one deal with confusion with work front and being overwhelmed with people's demands, requests?
Jeff Bezos says this perfectly. When we experiencing stress or anxiety, is that we don't know how to handle that workflow and the individuals that are actually around us. And you have to find the correct information and the correct experience in understanding that within yourself. It's not that the other people are the problem. And we quick to say, no, it's my boss that's giving me more work, and my colleagues don't
Mm.
understand me. And I realized, being an executive, that you've got to actually understand what is your metrics within your function. And when you don't understand that, that's where the stress and anxiety actually comes from. It's that you looking at it from an outer perspective, coming inward, and it's actually, you've got to look at it inward experience going outward. And that's where that shift needs to occur. That's why there's so much of confusion, is because you see all of these people unable to handle their areas and their functionality, and they're pressing it and stressing it onto you. And it's actually having that emotional intelligence where you do coaching, you want people to elevate their emotional experience, that emotional intelligence of compassion and empathy and understanding. Because I'm going to give you an experience that I've realized is that we talk a lot about IQ, and that's your
Mm.
actual mental intellect. It's that your memory, you're learning in school how to understand language, you're learning subject matter, math, science, geography, whatever subject matter that you learned, and you actually have such a low aspect of emotional intelligence because you're not in people environments. You're just in a social aspect with kids and adults teaching you that when you come out of that phase when you're 18, 19 years old and you go into a work environment, you're actually going into a relationship environment, and it's actually understanding people better. It's not understanding the subject and your IQ better that you are able to do these functions. It's actually now learning to be in a community, being in a collaboration, being in different systems with people. And we're not taught that. We just go from university straight into work environments, and they haven't taught us how to deal with people. That's why there's stress and anxiety and depression and all of these things coming about, is because we haven't handled that part of being a human being. And you'll notice it happens even in marriage now. There's 50% divorce rates. And this is all because of us not understanding our foundational aspects in terms of being with other people.
All right, let's get to mind meditation and mindfulness. How has meditation shaped your own journey, and how do you integrate it into your coaching?
Can I give you some background into meditation, where I got it from, so that there's a bit of more understanding?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I've been in Hindu or Tamil for parents, Tamil, and going to
Hmm.
temple maybe once in a while, and then you realize that they don't teach you meditation in temple. They actually don't teach you. This is in my personal experience that when you go into these religious centers in terms of Hinduism, it's more about rituals and about prayer and less about
Hmm.
meditation and yoga and helping you overcome the challenges that you're experiencing in life. And when I learned at 36 years old that, oh, meditation exists, you watch it in movies and you see it in other spaces or in your life, but you never actually do it yourself because you think maybe it's a foofy thing or a woo-woo thing. And right now, science is telling you that, okay, when you meditate, you're going to experience neuroplasticity in your mind. You're going to have much more coherence with your bodily functionality, that meditation is actually a profound way of helping you. Just like exercise, doing exercise in the mornings, um, doing different activities where you go out into nature, you go on vacation, you go on holidays. These are all things that relaxes us. And meditation is a fundamental thing that I realized that helps and assists us, especially at a mind, body, emotion level, and even at an energy level, that increases and elevates our experiences in life. So when I started doing meditation, it was a learned experience. And then I realized, oh, when you go into the temple, you actually see maybe a Ganesha or a different idol or deity, but they actually sit in meditative postures. And if you look at it, 90% of them are in a meditative posture. Um, and that's where we say it's an asana or hatha yoga. It's the way they're sitting, and even with the eyes closed or when you hold your hands together. These are all aspects of and tools and techniques to assist in meditation. And I realized that as I've been meditating more, oh, it's been there for thousands of years. It's just we haven't been taught to use it. It hasn't been instilled with us to use it to elevate ourselves. And I'm so grateful now that psychology, neuroscience, research and development, Harvard, Stanford, Yale University, if you go into these things, you're going to see that they actually starting to give so much of data on the impact it has on our mind, the impact it has on our body, the impact it has on our emotion, and they're starting to push it forward in society and for us to elevate ourselves. So I use these tools to teach in my coaching so that it enhances your experiences in life, and because I've seen it at a personal level.
For someone new to meditation, what's the simplest way to start without feeling overwhelmed?
Your mind is we try to control our mind, and
Mm,
you can't control your mind. It's
mm,
going to make you more anxious, more
mm,
overwhelmed. And when I was speaking to people, they say, no, but I'm trying to close my eyes, and it's my thoughts are running away with me. And when you're sitting down, if you learn to focus between your eyebrows and just put your basically your eyes between your eyebrows, and you focus on a single point, because your mind is always wanting to move. Your pupils are always wanting to move, and it's being able to keep your pupils still. And it's more tools and techniques that you teach in a course and in these programs, so that you understand, okay, first, this is what's happening to your mind, this is what's happening to your thoughts, and this is what you bringing it to be in a meditative or a coaching experience. Your, as I said, 60,000 to 90,000 thoughts. Your mind is, if you sleep for 8 hours a day, that's, and if it's actual restful sleep, that's the
mm,
only time your mind is at rest. But when you're not in a restful state, you start dreaming, you start having nightmares, you start thinking about work. And I actually realized that when I was in my 30s, and if I had I was in a stressful, not a stressful job, but when you have a lot of activity, and I think executives
mm,
experience this, is that you're at a very heightened level of activity. It's very different to, like, you can say, an employee that's working in a factory, they go and they start up a machine, they're doing the same repetitive processes for 8 hours a day. Their mind is actually not working at a level of an executive, where your thinking, your intellect, your processing of critical thinking, reasoning, logic is all working very intensely at an executive level. And you don't know how to control that when you're getting home, because you're thinking of the next day already, or the next week, or the next month, and you don't know how to still that experience and bring it to a rest state. So meditation and yoga and going into nature, experiencing restful states, because nature is a beautiful place to be in. Because it
mm,
doesn't it there's a profound amount of activity happening in nature. And but it's not perceived that way, because you're looking at it from a very restful state. If you're going into the forest, or you're going to the beach, and you're seeing the waves and the calmness, and you're there with the clouds, it's it's happening, there's activity, but to your mind, it's not at that level as being in a concrete jungle. And when you are actually with a lot of people around you, it's because everybody is in that state, so you think it's normal. And you need to shift that perspective to say, no, I don't want to be in those states, that I bring a calmness and reflective and contemplation when I'm at work as well. Because you'll notice now, people, they could be alone and doing their work, and as technology moves forward, less and less people are going to be interactive, because you're having spaces where you can do everything. AI is coming in the agentic phase. More and more people are going to have more and more hours in their day to actually not do anything. And they need to figure out what they're going to do when they experience these moments, because it is coming. That your your logical mind is going to be less used because ChatGPT, you're noticing these new AI, artificial intelligence, can think smarter than you. It can do more things than you can do at a human physical and mental level. And that's changing. And as human beings, we need to figure out, okay, when we have more free time, what do we do with our free time?
Do you think meditation is more about calming the mind or about gaining clarity for decision making?
Meditation brings clarity. And
Okay.
when there's clarity, you will have a calm mind
Mm.
because you fundamentally understanding your internal aspects more. It's bringing a clarity, an intelligence, and understanding of what's happening within yourself. So we're saying yes, it's going to bring calmness and maybe peace and tranquility and all of these. These are byproducts of clarity.
All right, let's get to the coaching and personal growth. What role does self-awareness play in your coaching when it comes to long-term transformation?
When we're self-aware,
Mhm.
we we actually know ourselves at a mental level, emotional level, physical level, and an energy level. So when we say awareness, is what are you aware of? We say self-awareness, it's this. So Socrates says, know thyself. It's one of his famous quotes. It's that when you know yourself, you're actually fundamentally more aware of yourself. You're more aware of what's happening within you. And when you know how to handle yourself, you become a master of yourself. It's not about being a master of somebody else and say, no, I'm going to be a better leader or anything like that. There, it's that you know this, and that's self-awareness. That's an awareness that you elevating and you bringing within your experience. So when we say that you have IQ, and I teach this in my courses, you have that intelligent quotient, which is actually mental intellect, thinking, reasoning, logic. And then we're moving on to the next phase where we're talking about emotional intelligence now, that you're starting to understand compassion, empathy, collaboration, community, being more with others and understanding others. And then in the next phase, we're going to find out that there's situational quotient, which is situational awareness, is that you are more aware of your environment. When you walk into spaces, you can start receiving that information and understanding it much better. And that there's only been discovered within the last 3-4 years is that they're talking about situational awareness now. And then when we move above situational awareness, you're going to have visionary awareness, is that people are seeing things 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ahead. There's videos of Steve Jobs talking about, oh, you know what, you're going to have this pocket of intelligence, and maybe one day I'm going to be able to speak to Aristotle. I can read the book right now, and I can't wait where we have this level of intelligence that I can speak to Aristotle. I can actually have a conversation with him. And he said this 2 decades ago, before even ChatGPT existed and smartphones existed. So he has that
Mm.
visionary awareness to see the future before it actually even happens. And you're seeing it with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs, is that level of awareness has come into their experience, and they start moving and projecting and moving people and technology to get to that space. So I discussed these four aspects, which is IQ, EQ, SQ, and then VQ as well. So that level of awareness is not sitting only at self-awareness. It has these different levels that we can experience as we move forward and as we elevate our experience.
All right. How do you help clients overcome the belief that well-being and success can't coexist?
It, it can't coexist.
Yeah, how do you help clients overcome the belief that well-being and success can't coexist? Yeah.
When we I think when we look at success, is that we're looking at balance, and we're thinking that everything is going to be balanced. If I get the right job, then I'm going to get the right spouse, and then I'm going to have kids, and then you think that's success and that's balance. And well-being comes way before that. There, you have to understand that well-being trumps success. If you are well, and you mentally well, physically well, emotionally well, that's
Mm-hmm.
success.
Mm,
And we think that, oh, when I am successful, it has a particular metric, that, oh, when I get this
mm,
house, this car, this marriage, this kids, this job, oh, that's the ultimate of success. And even maybe $1 million or $20 billion,
mm.
we've created a society where we say, oh no, that's the metric for success. And health is our most valuable health is the most valuable thing that we can have today. And we're noticing that in society is that, it's not only about physical health and physical well-being, it's also becoming about mental well-being, emotional well-being as well. And when we grow and understand these and become more aware of it, we'll see that, oh, well-being is success. It's not thinking that it's going to happen after I gain all of these accumulated material aspects of my life that I'm going to be successful.
What's one breakthrough story from your coaching journey that shows the power of combining leadership with well-being practices?
I love teaching executives, and when you see a change in an executive, that
Mhm.
there's an elevated experience, especially in previous experiences where you see somebody that's anxious, that's overwhelmed, that can be depressed, and you see, okay, when change happens, their level of experience, they become more conscious. They know, oh, I don't want to be angry anymore. I notice when I'm calmer, I'm actually much more alive, and I'm much more happier, and I'm much more joyful. And when you see these experiences, it's very valuable. It's uplifting for me to see that, oh, okay, when these changes occur, you see the elevated experiences, you see that they're able to handle life in a much better way. They're becoming more conscious of and self-aware. Oh, okay, I am angry. I no longer want to be angry. Um, I am being overwhelmed. I'm moving from depression or grief or sadness. I'm in a much more better state of well-being. And that's the beauty of life, is that when you see, the people that you're coaching and you giving these experiences to, that they can use these tools and techniques, that they having their life is in a better way.
Right. Final question to you is looking ahead, what is your vision for how well-being and coaching will evolve in the next 5 to 10 years?
Mm, right now, there needs to be an amalgamation between technology and well-being and human experience, and I think AI is going to play a fundamental role in that. um, that we have the systems in place and the research and the data that can be used, uh, that you've seen that's coming through people doing brain scans, body scans. There's much more data on the metrics of what's happening within us, when we're angry, when we're upset, when we're depressed, when we having overthinking, overwhelm, anxiety. Is that they starting to do the research, and you can see the metrics that, oh, okay, when you're anxious and when you angry, this is your brain scan, this is how the experience is, this is what's happening to your body at a cellular level, at a physical level. And you're noticing now they talk about psychosomatic, that means your mental activity is affecting your physical body. And I think that's a 70% reality, is that most of the illness and diseases that we see now is because of our mental activity. The anxiety, the depression, the mental illnesses that we talk. There's over 400 psychological mental illnesses that we actually categorize today. And that just shows you that we need to change that mindset. It's that you can't keep on categorizing it and creating new and new illnesses, is that we need to change that perspective and that perception of our reality. And I'm noticing that that's happening more and more today with artificial intelligence, with well-being, with universities like Harvard and Stanford. They are using these research, the material. They're saying, okay, how do we practice it? How do we put it into the normal day-to-day people? And that's the greatest thing that's happening, because technology is bringing us together. It's shrinking this planet where we can have a discussion now live, which couldn't have happened 20, 30 years ago. So technology is allowing us to become much more together. Information is freely passed to every single human being. And I think that's the greatest part about seeing this, is that well-being technology is growing at a phenomenal rate with the advent of, I would say, knowledge and wisdom. And we need to use that and elevate ourselves to the next level.
All I've got to say that thanks so much for your time, and catch up again with you soon.
Thank you so much. Cheers, Siddharth.